Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. So today we are going to be revisiting a topic. It was one that I did my first video on about a month ago. It was a video highlighting the differences between the point defense templates between the various factions. The differences were actually patched like 2 days later, which is a huge bummer. I privated the video, but I am going to reopen it. So the reason why I privated the video, and I had a couple people reach out to me asking me why, but the reason why I privated the video was because I didn't want to be misleading people with false information on the channel, because I want this channel to be an area where if you're newer to the game, you can learn some tips and tricks that it took somebody like me a while to figure out, just because there weren't a whole lot of tutorials and weren't a whole lot of videos highlighting differences between factions whenever I first started playing the game back about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Wow, I've been at this for a while. But I am going to reopen it for you guys. I'm going to try and see if I can drop something in YouTube that'll say like, hey, this has been patched. But I'm going to reopen it just so that you guys can see the differences between the two. If you guys didn't catch that video, I will summarize that in this video. I'm going to summarize the initial findings real quick for you, but I will link the full video down in the description if you guys want to go see that. So initially, the point defense templates, this is pre-patch, pre the patch that dropped, I think about 3 weeks ago now. The point defense templates fell into one of three categories. So the Aeon template walls would tank 100% of the incoming fire before allowing damage to the point defense building itself. It's pretty strong. The Cybran and the UEF walls were roughly 50 or so percent effective, and they had an odd interaction where the attacking units wouldn't actually focus the PD until the wall opposite the attacking units was destroyed. I'm dropping a clip on screen so you guys can understand what I'm talking about, but I thought it was a weird interaction as far as the targeting for units. Lastly, the Seraphim template did absolutely nothing to protect the point defense. You could just have a point defense standing there. You could put walls around it. The walls were just a waste of, what would that be, 8 walls, so that'd be a waste of 16 mass, which I mean isn't a huge deal, but they don't do anything. Incidentally, one of the questions that I got in the comments of that video early on before I privated it was, do walls give a bonus to point defense? And I don't think they do. So point defense have 1300 health, point defense with walls have 1300 health. That's just kind of the way it is. So I wanted to revisit the topic, talk about the changes that were made in the patch, and look at how this might impact games. So getting into it, we ran 2 primary tests. The first one was with single units. So for a single unit, I tested out all of the faction's main battle units at various distances. I measured these out with wall sections, setting units as close to the tick mark as I could. I used 4 walls, 9 walls, and 14 walls. I meant to do 5, 10, and 15, but didn't account for the one that's right next to the template. So we're going with 4, 9, and 14. It still gets the point across. The point defenses were set to hold fire, so I didn't have to mess with shields, which made testing this actually way easier. And I'm very pleased to announce that the walls actually do nothing at every distance with every main battle unit. The only time I saw a wall get hit was the Seraphim wall, and it was hit for like 8 damage, and I think a Mantis just happened to miss 1 single shot. But by and large, the walls don't do anything anymore. All of the fire either arcs over the walls or kind of just phases through the walls in the case of the Seraphim walls. So I also did multiple units and tried to simulate a little bit more of a real world scenario. I set up 10 strikers and just kind of click them around the point defense template like you would if you were microing the units and trying to either take out the point defense or engage other units that are around the point defense or kill a mechs or something like that. In this test, the walls did a very small amount. In some of the clips, you can see the walls getting the shells from the strikers hitting the walls if a unit is right up against the wall and the shot is unable to arc over the hitbox. Or I guess they call it unit bone target point. I'm blanking on what it actually is in the code itself. But regardless, it's a hitbox, and unless a tank is right up against that hitbox, it is not going to register a hit. It's just going to arc over. So with multiple units, 99% of the shots connected with the point defense, where previously, pre-patch, you could expect a good amount of protection or even total protection in the case of the Aeon with either the Cybran, the UEF, or the Aeon factions. So that being said, this template might be dead. And how does this impact the game? I think this is a relatively large game change, to be 100% honest with you. This template has been used by everybody from top level all the way down to noobs like me on maps like Twin Rivers, to secure secondary starting locations, choke points on Festi 7, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, or to start a forward fire base like on Dunes or Plateau of Arrakis. Changing this does not make T1 point defense completely useless, but it is a nerf overall to T1 point defense, I believe, just because it makes them far less tanky. You have 1300 HP, that's what you have to work with on the point defense, and adding walls is not going to augment that or shield the point defense templates at all. I think that this is overall a good change though, because I think that it changes the way that the early game is played for a lot of players, where it eliminates the ability to turtle super early. And there's a lot of situations where if you look at especially lower rated games, like around the 400, 500 maybe on ladder, or even lower, where somebody will set up a point defense and it just kind of stalls the enemy player. Like the enemy player doesn't necessarily know what to do with it, and it makes it very difficult for that enemy, for the second player that didn't build the point defense, to push into said section, because either, you know, they don't have the actions per minute to select artillery, or they throw a bunch of units at the point defense and whatever surrounding units are around it and end up losing a lot of units. So I think I like this change a lot, because it's going to force more dynamic gameplay. It's going to force more raids, especially on ladder, and these are all going to be more encouraged. And I might be speaking from a stance of bias here, because I do like to play a very raid heavy game whenever I play on the ladder, but I think it's a good change overall in lieu of turtling early, which can happen, especially at, I think, lower skill levels. I also really like it just because my primary build queue is 7 main battle units and a scout, and I don't add artillery or mobile AA unless I need to. So this makes my main queue more viable in more situations. So bravo, love it. But I'm gonna wrap the video there for today, guys. Like I said, I am going to republish, I guess it would be, the original video, if you guys want to go back and see kind of what the life cycle of change looks like. But I'm gonna call the video there. If you want to see how it's changed over the last month, I'm realizing that I've said things in my script that I'm now reading, so this is awkward now, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.